Welcome to Metapulse English. Creation and fall. In the beginning, before the conception of time, God existed as the sole being from eternity. In a majestic act, He decided to create the heavens and the earth, bringing all existence into being. This magnificent work reflected His unmatched sovereignty and creativity. The pinnacle of His creation was the formation of man, shaped in His own image. This unique being received the breath of life directly from God, becoming a living, conscious entity endowed with free will. Harmony reigned in those early days, and man enjoyed divine closeness in Eden. However, even in this paradise, humanity faced its greatest trial. Adam and Eve, the first humans, succumbed to the subtle temptation of the serpent. The forbidden fruit, offered with deceptive promises, became the cause of the fall. Disobedience introduced sin into the world, irreversibly altering the relationship between God and His children. By eating the forbidden fruit, Adam and Eve experienced the bitter reality of separation from God. Their actions resulted not only in their own spiritual downfall, but also in the inheritance of sin for all humanity. The initial purity was replaced by the knowledge of good and evil, and Eden was left behind, guarded by cherubim. This foundational episode, recorded in the pages of the Bible, illustrates human fragility. The event of creation and fall resonates throughout the scriptures, demonstrating the need for redemption and pointing to the promise of a Savior who would restore the lost communion between God and humanity. Pre-flood. The trajectory of humanity after the fall of Adam and Eve reveals the complexity of human nature and God's relentless pursuit of restoration. The descendants of Adam began to multiply, and among his children, Cain and Abel emerged. A story marked by tragedy. Cain, driven by jealousy and envy, committed the terrible act of murdering his own brother, Abel. This act of violence marked a turning point in human history, showing how deeply sin could penetrate and erode the foundations of society. As the population grew, corruption spread across the earth. Wickedness and injustice became widespread, and the divine creation was far from the intended harmony. In response to this moral decline, God decided to act in a way that would shake all of creation, the flood. Noah, a righteous and blameless man, found favor in the eyes of God. Instructed to build an ark, he was tasked with preserving life during the imminent cataclysm. Animals of every kind, along with Noah's family, boarded the ark that would become the refuge of survival. The waters of the flood covered the earth, eradicating all life that had become corrupted. The ark, guided by the divine hand, floated over the tumultuous waves, preserving the hope of a new era. After many days of flooding, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, and Noah and his family disembarked to witness God's promise never to destroy the earth in this way again. The pre-flood story, marked by sin, judgment, and the gracious preservation of a righteous remnant, serves as an eternal reminder of divine justice and mercy. It is a narrative that has shaped the course of biblical history, pointing to the ongoing need for redemption and the promise of a new creation. After the flood, humanity, represented by Noah's descendants, faced the challenge of repopulating the earth. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, became the progenitors of nations that spread across the earth, contributing to the diversity of creation. Shem is often considered the ancestor of the Semitic peoples. His descendants include groups such as the Hebrews, Arameans, and Arabs. Notably, through Shem's lineage comes Abraham, who would become a central figure in biblical history as the father of nations and the patriarch of the Hebrews. Japheth is traditionally associated with Indo-European peoples. His descendants include groups such as the Greeks, Romans, Scythians, and others who spread across regions of Europe and Asia. Japheth's dispersion contributed to the ethnic and cultural diversity observed in ancient society. On the other hand, Ham's descendants spread across various regions. Among them are the Canaanites, Egyptians, Philistines, and other groups. Notably, there is an episode of disobedience associated with Ham's lineage. One day, Noah planted a vineyard, and after drinking some wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. His youngest son, Ham, saw his father's nakedness, and instead of covering him or keeping it discreet, went to tell his older brothers, Shem and Japheth. Shem and Japheth, in contrast to Ham, showed respect for their father's nakedness. They entered the tent backward, carrying a cloak to cover Noah without looking at him. When Noah awoke and learned what had happened, he pronounced a curse on Ham's lineage, while blessing the lineages of Shem and Japheth. This genealogy serves as a foundation for the subsequent narratives of the Bible, connecting the stories of the great patriarchs such as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to post-flood humanity. It also contributes to understanding the different nations and cultures that emerged in antiquity according to the biblical perspective. The Patriarchs. The saga of the Patriarchs, marked by complex family relationships and divinely orchestrated events, played a fundamental role in biblical history, shaping the trajectory of God's people. Abraham, initially called Abram, and his wife Sarah, received an extraordinary promise from God. They would become parents despite their advanced age. However, Sarah, due to her old age, was unable to conceive a child. Her impatience and disbelief led her to suggest that Abraham have a child with her servant Hagar. Hagar became pregnant, and Ishmael was born as a result of this union. The birth of Ishmael was significant as he was Abraham's first son, although he was not the child of the divine promise made by God. Ishmael's importance in the biblical narrative extends beyond his personal story. He became the ancestor of a group of people known as the Ishmaelites, who primarily inhabited the desert region of the Arabian Peninsula. The Bible highlights that Ishmael was blessed by God and became a skilled archer. However, in time, Sarah finally became pregnant. The miraculous birth of Isaac, whose name means laughter, was the fulfillment of this divine promise. The joy of having a child brought not only a physical heir, but also signaled the continuation of the promise made to Abraham. Isaac in turn married Rebekah, and the couple faced unique challenges. Rebekah gave birth to twins, Esau and Jacob, who demonstrated marked differences from the womb. The blessing that originally belonged to the firstborn was transferred to Jacob through a clever plan, triggering a complex family dynamic. After receiving the blessing from his father, Isaac, by deceiving his brother Esau, Jacob fled to avoid Esau's wrath. Jacob, whose name means deceiver, had his own encounter with God and had his name changed to Israel, which means one who struggles with God. He fathered 12 sons, who became the leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel. This notable progeny includes prominent figures like Joseph, whose story played a crucial role in the biblical narrative. Years later, there was a reconciliation between Jacob and Esau, who surprisingly made peace with each other. The move to Egypt marked a new chapter in the history of the patriarchs. Joseph, Jacob's son, who became a high-ranking official in Egypt, played a crucial role in this episode. Due to the famine in the land of Canaan, where Jacob's family was living, Joseph, now an important figure in the Egyptian government, invited his family to move to Egypt, where they would have access to food and sustenance. Jacob and his sons accepted the offer and settled in the region of Goshen, a fertile area of Egypt. By moving to Egypt, Jacob's family was able to survive the famine and preserve their lineage. This event was part of the fulfillment of the divine promise made to Abraham that his descendants would be numerous. The saga of the patriarchs highlights family relationships, human complexities, and divine faithfulness in fulfilling his promises through generations. Each step of this journey shaped the backdrop for future events, laying the groundwork for the continuous unfolding of God's plan in the history of his people. Exodus and wilderness. The epic narrative of the Exodus and the journey through the wilderness reveals not only the inspiring leadership of Moses, but also God's powerful intervention on behalf of his people, thus shaping the identity of the nation of Israel. Moses, a man chosen by God from birth, emerged as an unparalleled leader, commissioned by God to lead the children of Israel to freedom. Moses confronted the powerful Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Hebrew people. The confrontation culminated in the miraculous event of the Exodus, when God, through Moses, guided his people out of Egypt. The narrative reaches its climax in the crossing of the Red Sea, with the waters miraculously parted. The Israelites walked on dry ground, while the waves formed a formidable wall on their left and right. This event not only symbolized liberation from slavery, but also established Moses' credibility as God's appointed leader. However, the journey of the Exodus did not end with the triumphant crossing. The pilgrimage in the wilderness became a period of testing, trials, and divine revelation. The Israelites, despite witnessing extraordinary miracles, faced challenges that tested their faith and trust in God. The wilderness journey was marked by the need for learning and purification. For 40 years, the people of Israel wandered, facing shortages of food and water, but also receiving divine guidance through Moses. This journey shaped the perseverance of the people and laid the foundation for forming a community committed to the divine covenant. Moses' leadership, anchored in God's guidance, led the Israelites through this challenging desert to the threshold of the Promised Land. Each step, despite the obstacles, was a crucial part of the complex tapestry of Israel's history, highlighting God's faithfulness and the importance of obedience. However, due to an act of disobedience recorded in Numbers chapter 20, Moses was barred from entering the land promised to Abraham's descendants. At the incident of Meribah, the Israelites were thirsty and asked Moses to provide water. God instructed Moses to speak to a rock so that it would yield water. Instead, Moses, frustrated with the people's complaints, struck the rock twice with his staff, disobeying God's instructions. Because of this disobedience, God announced to Moses that he would not enter the Promised Land. At the end of his journey, Moses ascended Mount Nebo, from where he viewed the Promised Land but could not enter it. He died there at the age of 120, and he was buried by God in an unknown location. Although Moses did not physically enter the Promised Land, his role as a leader and lawgiver left a lasting legacy. His death marked the end of an era and the transition of leadership to Joshua, who would lead the Israelites in the conquest of the Promised Land. Thank you for tuning in to Metapulse. If today's content inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more empowering videos. Join our community and stay connected for the best tips on growth, success, and spiritual well-being. Remember, every pulse counts when it comes to your happiness and success. See you in the next video.